I've studied law enforcement tragedies now for 45 years. And while there are many, many, many root causes, these are the five that I see most often. I call them the five pillars of success. We'll start with pillar number one. I'll give you all five in advance: people, policy, training, supervision, and discipline. But let's take them one at a time. Pillar number one: getting and keeping good people. That is so essential to our operations. And getting and keeping good people starts with recruitment. And let's be honest, this is 2021. Today, our applicant pool around America is an applicant puddle. Seriously, who in their right mind would want to come into law enforcement today? All the negativity, all the vitriol, all the hate, all the murders. Everybody dislikes us at this point in time. I mean, be a firefighter, work one day, take 6 weeks off. Everybody loves you. Our applicant pool is an applicant puddle. And Mike and I have been around long enough to say, this is not the first time we've seen this. It's pretty bad now, but it's not the first time. But you know what the easiest way is to increase the size of the applicant pool? Well, let's lower standards. Let's lower standards so we get more people. Every time we lower standards to increase the size of the pool, every time we lower standards to increase diversity, and that's the most racist or sexist thing I could possibly say. Well, in order to increase diversity, we have to lower standards. No, we don't. We need to revisit the way we recruit. Well, Gordon, we have a recruitment unit. Not good enough. If I was running things, and I'm not, you're running things. Everybody needs to be a recruiter. Start with that. While you're on duty, and make sure you put that in there very clearly, while you're on duty in your policy, I don't want any Fair Labor Standards Act problems, you're required to recruit. Think about the numbers. If everybody made it their goal to find one good woman, one good man in their career, you'd keep up with attrition. If everybody made it their goal to find one a year, you'd have a wide applicant pool. One a month, you'd have an applicant pool 12 times that size. I know I did it quickly. I went to Catholic school. If everybody made it their goal to find one good woman, one good man per day, you'd have that wide, broad, deep applicant pool where you can pick and choose among the best of the best. Top-notch people and top-notch people from your community. If you don't have both of those, that's a problem lying in wait. Item two under people, the whole background investigation process. Here we are, 2021. In some organizations, the background investigation is what? A criminal history check. Not good enough. What's the difference between having a criminal history and not having a criminal history? Getting caught. You need comprehensive background investigations. Gordon, they're very expensive. I'm a lawyer. You can pay me now or you can pay me later, and it's always more expensive later on. Item number three, probation. You got women and men on probation who can't or won't do the job. Get rid of them. They will not get better over time. Oh, they will. No, they won't. Oh, they will. No, they won't. They're on their best behavior now. And if they're not making it, it's only going to get worse after they get off probation. Item next, performance evaluations. Please take them seriously. All too often we overrate people. Why? Because nobody complains when they get overrated. I got some chiefs watching this today, some sheriffs watching this today. Hey, sheriff, hey, chief, when was the last time this happened? Chief, I just got my performance evaluation from my sergeant. You got to do something about this. Once again, I've been overrated. That's never happened. If somebody thinks they got underrated, they're pounding on your door, and then you call in the supervisor. I'm just hoping you can justify these ratings, my friend, because the focus is on you. What message should we just send the supervisor? Don't take people on. We've got to take people on. When they're not doing the job right, they need to know it. And finally, decertification. I'm a fan of this so long as it doesn't become political on a statewide level or a national level. When people cross that bright line of ethics and integrity and do something terrible, we need to get rid of them and not just ship them off to another agency. Getting and keeping good people is the start. Shannon, a quick slide change, please. Number two is the policies. Policies, are they properly designed? Are they kept up to date? Are they fully implemented? And now you're thinking, oh, I bet you Gordon's going to give us a pitch for Lexipol. Yes, I will give you a pitch for Lexipol. I've got the best lawyers in America today building policies, but these are for you to discuss with your community prior to putting them into place. Just don't blindly take what I'm telling you is good. It is good, but you need to specify or make it specific to your given community so that they're properly designed. I've got a team of people who will keep these things up to date. But the big problem is implementation. Are people following the policies? And why don't people follow policies? All too often because they're not fully and adequately, if we could change slides, please, the training component. The training component. Are they being trained at the initial level when they get hired? Do you have an ongoing training process which was consistent with your state laws regarding training for law enforcement? Are you taking your training seriously? How do you really know what people learn in a class? You know, I'm just being very, very blunt here. For your average law enforcement trainer, their primary mission is making sure people get signed in. Has everybody signed in? Has everybody signed in? I'm more concerned, what did people know? And if you've been to my long programs, and the Lexipol approach is every day needs to be a training day, and not random training, but training focused on the core critical tasks. Very risky, done very rarely with no time to think. And training followed up with testing. That's the Lexipol DTV system. You log on, you get trained and tested every day. For those of you who are executives, someday you're going to be on the stand, and maybe federal court or state court, probably federal court, you know, and you're going to be asked this question: when was the last time this deputy, this cop, this trooper was trained and tested on the pursuit policy, on the use of force policy, on the deadly force policy? What's your answer going to be? One time, in time, some time ago? We need constant ongoing training. Item number 4, Shannon, a slide please, the supervision component. A very blanket statement. You show me a tragedy in American law enforcement today, I will show you approximate cause of X. The real problem all too often is a supervisor not behaving like a supervisor, or in the alternative, a supervisor who tried to behave like a supervisor and got no support from management. What do you want to talk about? Pursuits, use of force? You know, use of force, we've seen some things on TV recently. 9 minutes of an incident, no supervisors show up. Are you trying to tell me there's no supervisors on duty in that department? Or is the supervisor saying, you know what, if I show up, I might have to make a decision. And if I make enough decisions, I might make a bad decision. That'll be held against me. The easiest way to avoid making a bad decision is don't even show up on scene. I'm fed up with this stuff, folks. We got to get supervisors behaving like supervisors. In a long program, how do you select? How do you train? How do you mentor? How do you develop the next generation of supervisors? And please remember this, Chief, Sheriff, on any given day, nobody knows where you are. On every given day, every employee knows who their supervisor is. And there are some employees who will modify their behavior based on which supervisor is on duty. And finally, the discipline component. And if you don't get anything else out of our 75 minutes together today, discipline, and Mike's going to beat this to death in a bit. Discipline is never a function of outcome. How things end up is not the issue. Can you have a cell extraction end up A-OK, which there's major violations of policy? We got lucky. Can you have a pursuit end up A-OK, which there's major violations of policy? We got lucky. Can you have an informant end up A-OK, in which there was major violations of policy? We got lucky. You cannot rely on luck. You have to rely on systems. If you think that all is well that ends well is the answer, that's craziness, folks. Just because things end up okay does not mean we don't have a problem lying in wait. So those are the 5 pillars of success: people, policy, training, supervision, and discipline.